Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the Ego Chall. I am joined with my co host, Ben. Ben, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing dandy, just got off work. I just got my croc pins. I just got those in place. I was pumped about that. But it's nice to be here and being able to talk about such great players and such a great league we're in with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to get started. There's another podcast. I'm not going to mention its name. We're starting a little beef with them, so they know who they are and they can fuck off. But really,
Jesus.
this what this podcast is going to be, we're going to be talking about just the state of the league mainly. Maybe trying to start some drama with some Q&A questions at the end of episode or at the end of episodes. But really, just the state of the league. We're not going to break down the matches or anything like that, unless some like crazy reverse sweeps or something happens during tournament time or whatever. But this is going to be the first episode, the preseason episode. We might do another one preseason. Don't know if we have time for that. It just depends on what scrims go and everything like that. And then one after each stage major to just kind of break down what happened, have the MVP of that stage join us as a guest and just kind of get their thoughts on how it went. But speaking of how things are going, Wheezy, how do you feel about your season going forward from here on out? Like, do you like your team? What are your thoughts?
Uh, you know, I'll be honest. So a lot of people are telling me that they think I'm better at this game than I was in whatever last year was too, I guess. Um, to me, I feel like I don't know what the issue is. Like everyone thinks I'm doing better, but I feel like I'm doing worse. Some people may say it's a confidence issue. I will say recently I've been playing with a lot more confidence, and it's kind of showing. I mean, I'm getting more hill time, which everyone calls me out on. The kills are still there. It's not like I'm falling off really. Um, Honestly, going into this year, I'm pretty excited. I haven't played these maps since I was in elementary school, so I mean, the learning curve is kind of there, but you're still familiarizing yourself with stuff like that. I have two wonderful teammates, Mark and Hank. I mean, the vibes, believe it or not, the vibes whenever I'm with these guys are off the charts. I say when I'm with these guys, we haven't had much time to get together and scrim, but I know all three of us have been getting our minutes in and getting our reps on the game. Alex wants to call me out and say that I'm not on too much. I mean, that's kind of fair because of last year I struggled with it, but I think everyone's getting their reps. It kind of just comes down to being able to play actually as a group of three. And I think it's going to be able to happen a lot more once we get a little closer to the season. I know it's a week and a half away or so. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think every team has potential to do well. There's not really a team that stands out over another, and there's not really one that's like, oh, well, they're going to be bottom of the barrel. But it kind of just comes down to who's more confident and who knows what to do on the map and just kind of make the plays. So to say I'm excited is an understatement going into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked about a little bit how you all have all been grinding, but it's kind of been separately. Do you think that meshing with your two teammates and getting that chem going is something that you all are going to struggle to do? I know that it was kind of talked about in the off season how Mark rages a little bit and how it was kind of a contention point for that Green Rage team last season. So there were eyes on you all whenever Hank brought that squad together during the draft because on paper you all are all just slayers, and then Hank is just like that really solid third player. You know what I mean? So do you think there's going to be any contention like with Mark, or do you think you guys vibe well already and is going to like hit the ground running, or how do you think that's going to work?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that the whole team aspect could have gone anyway. I mean, from pick 4 to pick 8, really anybody could have landed on a team anywhere. That just shows how much the competition has grown in this league. Um, Hank fully believes in Mark and I, and all three of us to be able to work together. And I think the more we play together, granted, like I said, we haven't been much, but I think stuff like that will come along just as we go. Uh, Funny enough, that's kind of how it was with us last year, just because of how my work schedule was and still is, where it's night side. I mean, we were expected top two last year on Goodfellas with Sean and Wayne, and then I had to get dropped, and then they ended up making grand finals. But I mean, that was a lot of even when hits came in, it was a little bit of kind of play whenever. But for this team, everyone viewed Mark last year as a top slayer, like a heavy slayer, as well as me. I mean, I thought I played Hill decent last year, but to get clowned almost every other day, it's kind of like, oh, well, I guess I need to play Hill a little bit more. But looking at this team, Hank's like almost devoted to being a Hill kitten. Like he's like, you all go do your thing, just set up, anchor, get your kills, and I'll just sit in Hill. And as fast paced as this game is, and I don't know if you agree or not, but every map in our rotation has like one or two hills that are just terrible, at
No,
least in my opinion.
absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, there's like soaker hills. It's impossible to get through whatsoever. And in that aspect, it kind of just comes down to if Mark and I can get our kills. I've had a few people, one in particular, call me out and saying that I'm like, I don't play too much close to the hill. I kind of rely on my teammates to play time. And to an extent, I agree. Like, if I have two teammates in the hill, there's no reason for me to hop in and be like all of us in there at once. Like, we're gonna get flooded at some point. But I understand the aspect of me being like too far away and not helping because it's people say I'm chasing for kills. I don't try to. I'm just trusting my teammates in hell, and I kind of think that's a little bit of what this team is. You've got two heavy slayers. Um, Mark, I will say he's been getting a lot better this year, but he even knows that he's not content with where he is. Um, he wants to be better in hill time. I want to be better in hill time. Mark, I feel like his biggest flaw right now is just being able to know rotations, know what lanes to look, where spawns are, kind of like not necessarily fundamental stuff, but like it's easy to overlook and hard to underestimate, if that makes sense. Um, Honestly, he hasn't, from what I've witnessed, he doesn't rage that much. I mean, this is probably
No,
the vibiest group that I've been with, surprisingly. Hank's a vibe. Mark doesn't really get mad. The only time I've noticed Mark get upset is if we're bad, like down tremendously. Like if we're down more than 50, it kind of starts to creep up onto him. And I mean, I'll be honest, I won't hide it. I look at the scoreboard and see how all three of us do when we're playing, whether it's like an eights or something. Um, that the moment he's able to kind of like understand how the map flow is going, I think it'll kind of hinder his ability to get mad at everybody or himself, I should say. And as tight knit as these maps are, as soon as he's able to get over that curve, I think we're fine. Hank's been shooting well this year too, so I mean, as long as we can all like slide into our respective spots and like, oh, if Hank dies in hill, then me or Mark hops in and someone like picks up another angle. I'm honestly not too worried. I think this team has a good chance to go as far as they want, but at the end of the day, it's you have your own limitations, and if you don't want to get there, then you're not. But I'd say this team has a good chance of doing pretty well, and I'm excited for it.
yeah, I'd say so too. I know that just from playing like eights and customs with him and CMGs, Mark from last year to this year already has calmed down like
He's so much
tremendously.
calm.
Yeah, it literally is night and day difference. And
I
he
feel
still
like
has the gunny. So
I was gonna say I feel like last year he knew how like valuable his aim and shot was last year. So when he was losing gunfights, he'd be even more mad. But like from noticing so far, him still learning the game, when he dies, it's kind of like, oh well, I guess I should have died there. Maybe I looked somewhere wrong, or like, oh, that's an angle you would never expect. Like I will say some of the spawns in this game are terrible. I know we say that every year, but I there was one that I spawned like 3 or 4 times in the same spot, and I'd run like 10 feet and die to somebody spawning where I just was. And it's like you can't really make a play off of that. But I mean, he's really calm. I think he knows that he's got two guys that are here to back him up and kind of just keep him calm a little bit, and he's fully trusting us. So for right now, right now, comms and energy is really fine for our team.
yeah, I'd say if you all can vibe well, which you say you all do, then on paper you and Goodfellas are the two teams to beat because the slay power of you and Mark and Seth and Hendricks are just it's insane. Like I don't know how we let those teams form to be honest, but
Yeah, I mean, me or Mark. Well, I know some people disagree, but TJ went ahead of us, and I know people say it was kind of a troll pick, but Mark easily could have gone to Mike's team. I could have gone to Mike's team. You could have gone in a first round pick to Mike's team. I mean, you were Grand Champ MVP last year, and you fell to like midway through the second round. It doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah,
there's so
there's
many different aspects of talent in this league, and it kind of just comes down to who wants it more.
yeah, the new people we added, Trace, Hendricks, and Corey, they're definitely tiered, kind of like the rest of us are. Honestly, I think we added one player to each tier, which I think worked out really well. But they each bring something different to, in my opinion, like almost every single one of the three players we added are invaluable to the teams they were added to. Like
Yeah,
Corey, like his mind and just how he plays the game is insane. Hendricks is just absolutely insane at hardpoint. And Trace, we know Trace as the gunny. He's been in the league before, and he's just easily top four, top two, top one player, depending on the day. So
yeah.
it'll be really interesting to see how these teams perform throughout the year.
Well, I'll ask you this before we dive into other teams. You're with uh one of my former teammates, Wayne, and then kind of my former teammate replacement Hits. I mean, I couldn't control that, let's be honest. How do you feel teaming with those guys? I mean, I'll tell you firsthand, Wayne is a get up and go guy. I, I'm not much of an IGL, but I tried being one last year for Goodfellas. Um, you tell him to do something, he's like, all right, I got it. Let's go do it. And then he'll ask questions on the battlefield. I mean, I gave him a green light to use the sub. He pulled out and get kills with it. Hits, I mean, is absolute beast. The kid can. Let you know a secret. Whenever he started with Marshall last year, and I graduated, he was always asking me questions. So I mean, it kind of sparks a little energy in me because he's my guy, and he cares so much. So what does that mean for you all to be, or for you to be on a team with those two guys?
Honestly, after getting absolutely smacked by them in winners finals in the champs last year, and then going down and going on that run with Armada, um, whenever we got 3-0'd, because that was the first time all day we had gotten 3-0'd and hadn't won a map in a series. Like I think because obviously they were good throughout the year. You know what I mean? Like we on Armada,
Yeah.
we I think won 3 maps over the entire season before champs. And 2 of those were against Green Rage in the regular season, and then one was a forfeit match against the Huntsman. And every time we played Goodfellas, whether it be you or Hits, like we just got slammed.
I remember the what is that map? A Silo Control. Me and you combined for like 92.
Oh yeah, dude, that was insane. That went to round 5, didn't it? I think that was the only map that we
Yeah.
came close to winning that series.
Yeah, I mean, like I finished with like 47 and you had like 45 or something.
Yeah,
And
that was
I
an
was like, this guy
insane
Lane
map.
does not give up.
No, dude, that's one thing about me. I may not have the gun skill, I may not have the best strats or whatever, but I play to the end most of the time. So it's different when it's like 250 to 36. Like you're not gonna win that. There's a point where you just have to set your controller down. But with the team I have this year and last year, honestly, like it just those aren't the teams that kind of promote that mindset. The teams that promote like we're going to the very end. Um,
Yeah, you got a gritty team.
so after we beat him in champs last year, um, I was kind of keeping my eye on where Hits and Wayne went and hoping that I get one of them on the team. And pretty much what ended up happening realistically is they dropped Sean and added me um, through the draft, which is weird. Um, Armada kind of did the same thing. They dropped me and added Tej. So it's kind of weird how like a couple duos stuck together through the draft. But I'm happy with my team. I think we're gonna be one of those teams that may not be number one right off the gate. We're kind of like you. We haven't played together much. Hits has the Marshall Esports stuff. Wayne has kids. Played Warzone a little bit, so we haven't played together on the team much in scrims. But I think once we get that like teamwork flowing and figure out how our play styles work together well, then we'll be insane. I think in S&D we're going to be we're going to be almost untouchable. But hardpoint, me and Wayne are both a little inconsistent. So if one of us can be on to help hits out per map, then we should be good. I just think the way
Uh,
this game plays is like every hard point for the most part super close, and it's either super close or a blowout. There's no games that are like 180 or 250. So
I
I
do have a
think,
question.
all right, go for it.
So, for playing with these two fellas all the time, at least when playing with Wayne on last year's COD and then playing with Hits just whenever, um, Wayne took a little bit of time having to learn the game, and in return, his comms, I don't want to say lackluster because he was still learning, but he was kind of seeing how me and Sean communicated in a way, just to see like get a feel of what's going on. Which there's nothing wrong with that. Um, but he kind of is not the IGL type, and I know when Hits gets flustered, it's kind of like when he dies, he'll get a little bit flustered, and it's like how how Mark gets mad. Like when he dies, he gets mad and
Yeah,
rages. Hits doesn't get mad, but he kind of questions like, oh well, how did this happen? He's like, there's no way that just died. Like rather than complete calling out, I've noticed. And I'm not trying to like slander either of them because they're my boys, and I'm just accustomed to how they like playing with both of them. That's kind of what I've learned. When you all go into your matches this year, is there like a sense of IGL like coming from you, or like has one of them talked about what they want to do? Because I mean, stuff like that is hard to balance, but I
yeah.
could see it. I could see potential of if you all go down early, then it's kind of going to be like hard to scoot back up.
I think that me and Hits kind of share that IGL role. He's obviously a lot better than I am, so a lot of the things he knows how to do that I don't, he calls out. And you're right. Sometimes he does get a little flustered, um, but I don't think it really affects his calling out. And Wayne from the get go, and I don't know if it's where it's the older maps and everybody's played them or what, but his callouts were on point from the get go. I didn't really experience that, but I
Okay.
think in those moments where Hits does get a little flustered and is like, "Well, how did I die there? Like, how is he there?" Then I kind of like pick up on that IGL role a little bit. So we kind of like work off of each other. Just what I've noticed so far. That might change leading up to the season or in season or what, but it's kind of how it went the first two times we played. So,
Yeah. No, that
but
makes sense.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how we do against the other, in my opinion, top two teams in the league. I do think we have six teams. We'll go ahead and start on a tier list here in a second, but I do think we have like a top three and a bottom three. I think it is divided down the middle a little bit, but not by much. Any team can take any team on any day. But in my opinion, just on paper and how things have kind of happened throughout scrims and customs and stuff like that preseason, I do think we have a little bit of a gap. So we'll go ahead and switch over to our preseason tier list. We're gonna go in alphabetical order. We're gonna start with the Akatsuki. Personally, I think Mintz, he's my boy, but I think he's gonna be the downfall of this team. Trace, just
That's
like
harsh.
TJ's, a little bit of a hothead at times. So I think if Mintz is struggling in a map, which he's been known just like a lot of people in the league to do from time to time, it could get Trace a little worked up. Their comms kind of diminish, but I'm gonna have them currently in the D tier slot. What are you
Uh,
feeling with them?
I think for now I could agree with that. We can always move it around if we need to. Um, this hurts me to say this, but Mintz turns into like Miami Heat, Chris Birdman, like Mohawk tats and everything when he plays against me. He just or like Jeremy Lin basically. For example, the Burt Macklin Invitational, the BMI. Um, I think the first series Mintz maybe went. And like this is like I'm not trying to exaggerate. I think he probably went like 4-18, and the finals series, I think I saw 2 kills the entire time, maybe three. And then he loads into our series, and I think he had a total of like 13 or 14, maybe 15. So anytime I play Mike, he just flips a switch for some reason. I don't know what vendetta he has on me. But if he plays everybody how he plays against me, I think this team has got a chance to be really good.
I
Um,
agree. Mintz, just
I think
from knowing him and playing with him for a couple of years, like I haven't been in the league other than last year. This is my second year, but just knowing him as a player, like whenever he actually plays the game and grinds, which he has been doing in this game, he didn't do it last year, which is why I think he struggled. But whenever he grinds and like knows where to look and like where people could be and things like that, he goes from like a point 0.3, point 0.4 player to like point 0.6, point 0.7, and I think that could be the difference maker with this team. If he ends up doing that, I could easily see them like making a run at champs or even during a major.
his current issue is playing pubs as if it's ranked. It, what would benefit him so much would be if he could find low elo like discords, like sixes, eights, discords. Because I mean, you can use whatever in pubs and dominate.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
true.
it's skill based, and if Michael's doing average in his lobbies, then I mean, it's not really going to be able to let him go up. Like I don't know how he does in his pubs, but I mean, there's tons of servers that have low elo, high elo. Like it's a mix. Like when I get off work, I try to do stuff like that because I'm actually like playing against people similar to me or better. And I mean, I might get smacked, but I mean, I'm learning stuff with new people. Like this team in general, like Trace is a beast. I personally knew him before his last tenure, if that makes sense. I did he play Vanguard? I can't
I
remember
believe
if
he did because that was the big drama between him and
okay. I
Sean
can't
with the desert
remember. I
skin.
can't remember if I played strictly against him in Vanguard a couple times before I had to step away. But I mean, Trace, unreal gun skill. Um, he reads a lot of things pretty well. He's always at the right place at the right time. Corey, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated player in the league. As soon as he's able to pick up on like uh little itty bitty things on the map, just awareness and knowledge, he's one of the scariest players. So I mean, this team has so much potential, but it's kind of one of those like hit it in the right stride moments. Like subliners, for example, did nothing all year and then won like 3 straight majors and champs. And it's like this team could easily do that, but it just depends on how much all 3 of them can put into the game. Because I mean, if Mintz isn't on the level like we're mentioning, then it's kind of gonna be a 2v3. I know last year there was a couple times Mike was struggling a bit, and I mean, people called him a track star because he'd be sprinting everywhere. If Michael is able to like post up rather than sprint everywhere, or at least like practice his reaction time, I think that's easily could be a B or A team
Oh,
on this tier
absolutely,
list.
absolutely. They somewhat, other than Trace being just an absolute like force on the map, remind me of this Armada squad. So let's go ahead and talk about them. Personally, I have them dropping into C. I feel like they're going to work the exact same as the Armada squad of last year worked. Maybe a little bit different because TJ and I are like we play similarly in the sense of like we're both inconsistent and both a little streaky, but just the way that like our minds work about the game are completely different. So I think they're gonna have a tough time keeping up with the slay power of um, most other teams in the league. But it's that teamwork that I think is really gonna shine for them. So I think towards the end of the year we'll see them pick up and maybe make another run at champs. But with that said, we just been absolutely insane so far in customs and scrims and stuff. He's one of the hardest kills on the map for me.
Yeah, I would personally have this team in B. So it's up to you if you want to leave it in C or B. I think this team really comes down to how TJ plays. I think Weed is phenomenal in this game. Uh, t- I Weed is there are a couple people that I've wanted a team with. I have in a year and a half I've played on Weed's team once in eights, and that was like a week ago. And the way he can get a kill, the way he can play relaxed, he doesn't get too in a hurry. He doesn't get chaotic. He's like It's like he's on a perk or something. Like he's just chilling. He can get map awareness down instantly on any game. I think Maxi is able to. Maxi is one of those players I haven't really been able to watch too often. I know that sounds crazy, but I think it's a very relaxed squad that this
Oh,
is.
absolutely.
I think they all understand what their roles are, and I mean, everyone had TJ being the last pick or second to last pick in the draft, which is surprising. I mean, TJ's not bad at all. I think this just comes down to, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but this team comes down to their ability to slay. Like I think this is one of the best OBJ teams in the league, but it's hard to keep an OBJ intact if you are losing the gunfights all the time. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think Weed does a good job of getting his kills. I think TJ and Maxi can get kills when they need to, but at a complete conversion rate of 24/7 of having to get kills while maintaining an OBJ might be a little hard. So I mean, if this team gets killing down, like, I mean, I'm gonna say this with every team, have a chance to be a top 2 or 3 team, but I need to see a little bit more from them. That's the one group that I haven't really been able to watch much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They've played Goodfellas and Scrims really closely.
I
So
kind of expect that.
yeah, I think
They
their
give me like,
issue is gonna come if a team sends like their top Slayer, or even like top Slayer and then like the second player on row, and they
yeah,
can't win those ones. I think that's when they're gonna struggle because the other team will most hills in this game are money hills right now.
yeah,
Just not being able to break them like Burger on terminal, playing on terminal. Um, Palace on fucking Invasion is insane most of the time. So there's
like
just
a
there's so many money hills if another team's Slayer just wins that one instead that they're going to be hard pressed in hard point. But I think if they can manage to get their control down like we did last year on Armada, then they could easily Neslo some teams.
yeah. I'm about to put the Reapers here under a bubble or whatever you want to call it. But if you were to give me Armada and Reapers right now in a hard point, I mean that could be a 20-point game, and Reapers could be like plus 30 or so on kills. Like there's
Yeah,
a good chance for them to be close in every match and get outslayed just because they understand like what to do on an objective.
yeah, it's very
Like
true, very true.
if you're playing the correct spots and your team shooting, like 2 people against one's always gonna win. And especially how the hills are in this game, like if they're able to find a groove like consistently and fast, like it doesn't matter how good of a shot you are, like teamwork will always be better than how players play by themselves.
Absolutely. And speaking of teamwork, this next team up, Beaver Hunters. Personally, I hate
Gonna
doing
need a lot
this.
of it.
I hate doing this. I'm putting them in F tier personally. It's just like we've seen what Stevie was and Alex could do as a duo last year, and we saw what Stevie did in the BMI. And I Corey is or not Corey Chase is better than Mintz in my opinion, but I still think Alex is going to really struggle. He
I
is
think Chase is a hard kill.
he is a hard kill, but I think just the trio there, in my opinion, doesn't work. Especially like it's just hard with the other teams in the league. Like I don't see this team winning very many matches, to be honest.
I think this team comes down to how Alex performs. Uh, I looking at this roster, I'm getting Vegas flashbacks to last year. It's just gonna be a lot of Alex play calling, and then Stevie and Chase agreeing, and then it kind of comes down to if Alex is going to get his kills. It also depends on how much Stevie plays the game, because if it's like last year, then it could put them in a tough spot. Granted, I know I can't speak for how much Stevie gets to play, but I mean, I would agree that Chase is a step up from Mike, and I can't believe Alex like 2 years in a row is has at the depths of a team. But I mean, Alex is very capable of leading that roster, whether it's last year or this year, to series wins. Um, Really, it just comes down to how Alex performs. I mean, there could be a game where you see Alex get 10 kills in 2.5 minutes, or he could get 35, 40 kills in like 30, 40 seconds. And there could be a day where he gets a mix of both, where it's 12 kills in 30 seconds, and then you kind of look at what the scoreboard's saying. I This team for me, it's how much can Alex really get into Stevie and Chase to kind of like work together with them. Not saying this is like, oh, Alex, like, oh, well, I got to do everything in my power to win this game because no one on my team can do anything for me. Like, that's not how Alex is.
No.
But he, I know that he has to think about it, that if he doesn't perform, then his team's going to lose. And I hate saying that because I think Stevie is smart and has tons of potential. And I think Chase, compared to last year, I think Chase is 10 times better on this game.
Yeah,
I
Stevie's already improved a lot. From what I understand, he's a lot better at hardpoint and just
That's good.
not great at search. And like even last year, Stevie had great gun skill. He just didn't ever really play comp, so he didn't really know like the strats or where rotations were and like built like
Yeah.
if we're being honest, the learning curve for a competitive Call of Duty is absolutely insane because it's just there's so much nuance to it, especially with the spawn systems changing every fucking year and always being asked somehow. It is hard. So if
I
he's
think
performing, oh, I've heard he's performing in hardpoint. I think this team will be perfectly fine, and I could like see them
I agree.
like definitely winning matches, placing top three at majors, especially if Alex continues to drop a 1.7 or above. But if
It just comes down to how well does somebody understand Alex and his brain, because I think the way Alex navigates a map and his play calling, I think it's some of the better play calling in the league. I think he knows what he wants to do, and I think he knows what he wants his teammates to do. The only counter to that is if you get somebody that knows how Alex works and becomes predictable. Not saying it's easy this year, because I mean it's not easy to predict somebody, but I think the moment you understand like how Alex plays, you kind of just think of that, because Alex is going to be like, hey, let's do this, and it'll happen a lot. Because I mean, a good example of this, and I know Alex will laugh when he hears this, but when we played Embassy Search last year against that squad, they would just sprint B every single time. They wouldn't even hesitate to think about A. And when we played them, my very first thought, and I told Wayne and Sean this, I was like, "You all go B. I'm going to get a kill on Michael on Xbox because he's going to be out there with a sniper." And I did it 4 rounds in a row because I know that the game plan was just, oh, let's just do this and then
yeah,
not change it. And going into this game, if that's the same mindset, then it's going to be easy to read at some point. But if they're constantly pumping out a game plan, an idea, and like how to counteract each individual team, then I mean I don't see them losing too much, because I know Alex will get them in shape. But
yeah, for sure. I
it kind of
kind of
comes
have
down to how hard they want to try and how much they want to win. And if it's like up there, then I know they'll game plan a little better than last year.
yeah. I have a similar story also on Embassy Search and Destroy. I think it was right after or right before you got Thanos from the league, but and I noticed the same things you were noticing. Like Mike loved to go Xbox with either attack or sniper, but this time I also noticed that Alex loved going under double windows in mid. He liked to just sprint through
Yeah.
mid and get up on those double windows if possible. So the first round we just three hit A bomb on offense and caught them off guard, and I think that just kind of set the pace for that match. But um,
Well, they did it on Hotel Control. I would just tell them wherever Alex is, go the opposite way, because he would play one by himself, and he always played the um the bar hop up on B Control.
I mean, to be fair,
Where
he had to though.
yeah, I mean I understand, but I don't know. It was a lot of, which I know he reverse carded us on that series, but it was like, oh well, we went bedroom, all three of us, we'd seed Alex, and it's like, all right, well if we kill Alex, then we've got a free hill. But I think he has to play a little bit more with this team here. Not like saying holding hands with them, Like he had trust last year playing by himself and having them together. But if that's the game plan, then all it takes is a squad break, and in threes, it's so much easier to capture
Yeah, that's
stuff
true.
compared
That's
to
true.
four. I think they have potential as long as Alex is able to maintain everybody together. I mean, that's Alex is my guy. Like I have full faith in him.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of this, any team on any day could easily take a series off of another. I just think for some teams it's a lot harder for everything to go right. They need to go right, whereas other teams is like they could. Other teams could make mistakes where I feel like Beaver Hunters have to almost be playing perfect COD um, to be able to win a series. But we'll go ahead and we'll leave them there. Where do you have this Goodfellas squad?
Um, First I want to say I don't think a single team should be an S on this tier list. Um, that being said, I think Goodfellas is an easy A for me.
Okay.
Um, I think Sean has not played much this game, and he was doing his part in the tournament that we just had. Um, in eights, he's been a hard kill. I think Sean's not bad at this game from what I've seen so far. He's definitely better than last year, and he wasn't. I don't think he was bad last year. Seth is always going to be good at a game of COD.
I mean, he
There's
has
no
walls.
debating
He,
that.
he can't
He
be
does
bad. You
have
know what I mean?
walls, so it's hard to not rank him any lower than A. But um, this squad is really good.
Yeah.
Hendricks, he's a new guy to the league. Um, Someone you could say a protege under talent of Trace with Corey. They kind of come in together. Um, I think Hendricks. It's the same thing with the turnaround in the draft. He could have gone where TJ went. He could have gone where I went, or Mark, or Weed. I mean, he has the ability to play a map like a takeover, if that makes sense. I haven't really been able to listen too much of his comms. I've always been on the opposite side of the map of him. But I mean, he gets his kills. He knows how to play the game. He's not like in a weird spot. And I mean, you've got two other guys on that squad that understand how to play with teammates. So I mean, it kind of just comes down to what their game plans are and like how they're able to maintain those during a map and not like fold, if that makes sense. If Seth's
Yeah.
getting joked, he'll bring it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And Sean kind of does the same. Like if they're be able to like win their gunfights, like I don't see this team having any issues this year.
Yeah. The only issue I could see is their search and destroy. Um, we know that Seth definitely prefers hardpoint and control, and Hendricks in the Burt Macklin Invitational and just a little bit in this preseason has lacked a little bit in search and destroy. So I think their downfall, as of right now at the beginning of the season, might be dropping those games twos and fives. So if they drop a respawn as well, I think they might be in trouble. But again, like that, Seth and Hendricks have just been grinding. They get on the same team a lot in eights and customs, so it kind of helps their chemistry. And then Sean and Seth just have chemistry from playing for a while against each other, with each other in customs eights, things like that. So I think this team is probably, other than mine, of course. I'm gonna let you speak on mine. I'll speak on yours. But outside of my own, they're the team I'm looking forward to see play the most. I think right now, outside of the Lap Hogs, for me, I have them number one. But like I said, if that search and destroy doesn't get better or isn't good off the rip of the season, then I don't know. It might get scary for them. It might get, if some other teams start putting these respawns together and they're a little late to the search game, it might be a little tough. But
Yeah. We can. We can talk about each other's team. I'll just go first on yours if
all
you
right,
want to
yeah,
talk
go
about
for
yours
it, go for
after.
it.
Um, Wayne hits lane. I mean, I've always said this that you are one of the people I've always wanted to team with, and it kind of hurts to see that two guys that I played with are on team with you. It's like I feel like I should be there, but I mean, it's kind of what I told you earlier. As long as you all are able to maintain like like not getting checked, not getting fugaze. Like if you die at some weird spawn, like it's easy to check you all out. Um, Something that I've noticed, at least the times that I've been able to play with you, um, but especially in the tournament, if something, if we did get kind of screwed or whatever, it would like your comms would kind of go a little bit quiet, and sometimes I felt like it was my like if I was play calling, you didn't like it. I That's the one thing I'm afraid with this team is if you all start getting down early, there's a chance that the team goes quiet, and then it's kind of just like, oh well, no one has trust or faith in each other. I think you are one of the better. I would say slaying department's not an issue. I think once Wayne kind of gets into a groove, like he's unstoppable. And I mean, if you've got hits who really doesn't lose gunfights, at least for me, like I feel like he's just has a UAV on where I am, like doesn't let me kill him. Like you all have a very easy to be consistent, but also easy to get annoyed at how the game works, if that makes sense. Like if you spawn somewhere like, well, I'm 100 meters away, there's no reason to go for this. Let's go new, and then you die new and lose that. Like that's an instant checkout. And I could out of all the teams, I feel like, well, other than Mince gets a little annoyed sometimes about how the game works. But if you all are rolling, I mean, it's scary to see like how. I mean, you all could go undefeated depending on how quick you adapt to like how the season goes. But I think you all also have the highest potential of getting annoyed with how the game plays, and then like not being able to like be consistent with comms, or like, oh, one's here, well then why didn't you say that? And then, like you kind of go down like a rabbit hole. But like other than being able to trust each other and like not get upset, I think this team is really good.
All right, all
I
right.
know I
Well,
kind of just yapped, but
no, a lot of fair points there. So where do you put us in the tier list we have so far?
um honestly, I would say I'd say B, but I think in front of Armada.
Okay, okay. Be in front of Armada. I'm not too upset with that. Not too upset with that.
I think Goodfellas is the team to beat right now. And I think if you all don't have any differences and are super calm and relaxed this year and kind of just play like your all's game, like you could easily move in front of them. But it, like I said, I haven't really played against you all as a team. Like I can't comment too much into
Yeah.
that. But like I know how all three of you guys play, and I know that there's great potential, but there's like that's on both sides of the ball. It could be really good or really bad.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. And
What are your thoughts on your team?
I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I do get annoyed sometimes, just like if a lot of the things that get me annoyed are like whenever I get shot in the back and I just don't know how that person got there. That I don't know why that checks me, like it checks my dope ridiculously. So like
Yeah.
if we were playing customs earlier, in two lives in a row, I just get shot in the back by Trace, and I'm like, how the fuck is he still behind me? And I'm on the other side of the map now. And it's just things like that because I think it's just where the games are newer. I don't necessarily know spawns as well as I did at the end of Modern Warfare 2, but um, and then S&D, like if someone just comes from an angle, I just have no idea where they're coming from. I'm just like, okay, like cool, brother, and I get annoyed. And I know hits is kind of the same way. Like we can both get a little annoyed sometimes if we just get like blasted out of fucking nowhere. But honestly, I don't think Wayne does. Wayne's a very calm, level-headed person. So I think if he can get his comms up to like perfect level whenever we're in those annoyed states, and I don't think Hits and I'll ever get annoyed at the same time. But if we do, I think Wayne's like the perfect glue to kind of keep us level headed. So I don't think we'll slip too far down a rabbit hole. But again, it's my team. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna like just do awful whenever we get in our own heads and stuff like that. But I trust these
Yeah.
guys to make the right plays. So I think we'll be fine.
That's fair. I do kind of want to make a quick adjustment to our tier list.
I have a feeling this is what you're going to say. You're going to drop Armada to C.
No, I'm gonna keep them behind Lap Hogs and B.
Okay, okay.
I think Beaver Hunters should just be behind a Katsuki.
What makes you say that?
I I think and I have a chance here to become public enemy by saying this, and I don't know the guy too well. I mean, I have talked to him. He's pretty chill with me. I would hope. I think Alex's ability to, God, I almost said caress. That would be completely wrong.
Jesus Christ, dude.
His his ability to corral Stevie and Chase and play as a team, especially since he's already played with Stevie for a year. I think that will be a little easier than it is for Trace to get Mintz on the same page as Corey and him, especially if Mintz doesn't play the game as much or if he's playing wrong, if that makes sense. I think if you were to put them into a best of 5, I think Alex has the ability to lead that team better in a sense of what he wants to do, rather than because these are not my words; these are other people's words. People think Trace is more of a Slayer player than he is of playing objective. If you go to map 5 search, I would favor the Beaver Hunter's ability to play the objective better than, I can't say that name right. It's not Akatsuki, is it?
Akatsuki.
I know Katsuki. Okay. I think I would like Beaver Hunter's chances in a best of 5 round 11 compared to theirs.
I mean, Alex has never lost a game 5, so
Yeah, and I could see if that series were to go to a game 5, I think Trace would be, and this depends on how Michael plays, because I think Corey he's not average, but he understands how Trace wants to play. If Mintz is like checked by map 5, then you're instantly in a 2v3. And especially if Stevie and Chase are flowing, like as long as Alex puts confidence into them, I don't see them losing that series. And it's just overall, I think there's better skill on Mintz's team, like just completely. But I think it comes down to consistency. And I feel like in a full series, like Alex will be a little bit better about corralling his team. I don't think that they're above them, but I don't think that they're that much worse that they're a different tier.
Okay, I like that. I'll put it this way: if it goes to game 5, I see Beaver Hunters taking it because Alex has never lost a game 5, but I have it probably 75-25 of Akatsuki not letting it go to a game 5.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And because Trace could easily turn it on in map 3 or 4. I mean, he turned it on in map 1 and never let go of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, we saw in an 8's lobby the other day, Trace going crazy, and then Michael. I'm not even gonna say the kills and deaths he had because it's not fair.
I'll say it. That's the lowest. 2-26.
I wasn't gonna say it.
I'm gonna leave it at that. Michael's my boy. I know sometimes I dog on him a little too much, so I'm gonna leave it at 2-26. But
I just think if that were to happen in a league match, it would check out Trace. I mean, it would check out probably anybody.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And I just don't think Stevie's at the level that he would do that this year. So, like, if that happens early on in the series and Trace is checked, then, like, it might not even go to game 5 for them. It might just be forward for Beavers. But, I mean, I think they're just on the same level. I don't think you can put one over the other.
Well, that's fair. It's fair. I am also going to make a change. It's a change I thought you were going to make. I'm going to go ahead and drop Armada back down to C because I have your team as the second team in B. Bias, I'm going to put them behind us, but we'll just say it's alphabetical order because I don't think either team is necessarily better than the other right now. Just based off of the fact that neither has really played as a group that much. Like, we've had 2 scrims, and Akatsuki because I was shooting bodies left early. Maybe sometimes I need to be a better sport, but I mean, it's a competitive league. You're getting your body shot. You know what I mean? Like it's all in good fun. But you all, I think, honestly, are kind of a mirror of our team. Um, I think Hits is a better Slayer than both you and Mark. But I think Hits and I together, and then you and Mark together, probably have the same Slay ability. And then I think the same issues you talked about with the Lap Hog squad, I could see on Reapers. If Mark starts raging again, I think it'll be hard for you all to get your comms going because, I mean, it's just loud. It's hard to calm over sometimes. I know that Green Rage was having issues with it last season because TJ's been known to do it too. And then, like, I think the glue for you all will be Hank. If Hank can keep the comms calm, keep his comms up, and then just make sure you all kind of settle down when you do get rowdy and just get back on track, I think you all be perfectly fine. Like I said, on paper, just based off last season and like known entities, I think you all are the best team in the league. I think it's really how the personalities match and like how the games play out. If you all get chalked, then I think the match is chalked. But I think that if you all can keep yourselves calm and stuff like that, then you all will be set easily. Easily win a major.
Yeah, I could see that. See, I could easily be biased and say I put ourselves ahead of Lap Hogs. Um, I think any given map, me and Hits could easily either be tied in kills or me have more than him or him have more than me. It kind of just depends on how the map goes. I think Hank and Wayne are going to play very similar. It kind of just comes down to really Mark and you, I guess. The more comfortable Mark is, the more confident I think he's going to be, and I mean that's definitely going to put him over. Um, there, I will say this, and you can retaliate. But I mean, you have me here doing this show with you, so I know you don't mind with what I'm about to say. Um, there are some maps that I've noticed that Mark struggles to get kills, and people have viewed him as a Slayer, especially as a top Slayer last year. And the same has kind of happened with you in an
Yeah.
instance on some maps. There are maps last year. I mean, God forbid, we almost had 100 combined on that Asilo. There's maps that you completely outslayed me, made me look like I'm trash at Call of Duty. And there's been games this year. I'm throwing shade at another player here. Alex has had maps where he hasn't really had kills either. It comes down to consistency. If you and Mark turn on a switch out of nowhere and you're both just leading the team in kills, like you could throw both of us an A. But if we go into a series and I'm kind of loopholing here, it's flashbacks to when me and Alex were on Marshall Halo team. If there's like something going on where you're expecting something out of somebody and they don't do it, you kind of get this feeling of, well, can we actually win the game if this isn't going on? And that is an aspect for both teams. Um, it kind of just depends on how you and him play, because I know how Hank wants to play and I know how Wayne wants to play. It's identical. Um, both teams, like our team viewing me and your team viewing Hits, is kind of that go out and get a kill, but also know how to like control what your team's doing. And it kind of comes down to how me and Hits utilize our teammates. Not saying that we're like better, if that makes sense, but people are every time I talk to somebody, especially Alex, he's like, "Well, you're the one that has to do this, or you're the one that has to do that." It's like if we get Mark and Hank rolling, and then you all like Hits gets you and Wayne rolling, like easily both teams could be in a different situation. But I mean, as of right now, I can agree with where we're listed.
Yeah. I think we'll go ahead and say this: the teams in the B and D tiers could swap either way.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way. I think the tiers themselves, like I see Goodfellas having a better chance of winning against everyone else. I have the beat like Laplogs and Reapers having a better chance of beating Armada, Akatsuki, and Beaver Hunters. I have Armada having a better chance against Akatsuki and Beaver Hunters, and then Akatsuki and Beaver Hunters I have having a uphill battle against the rest of the teams. So I'm happy. I'm happy with where everyone's at. Would you make any changes?
Um, I think realistically you could have Armada still in C, but you could also have them be behind us. Um, Again with our teams, I think Hits gets a little more checked than I do. I know I get upset on how I die, but if one of us gets more checked than the other one, that could be beneficial. But I wouldn't change anything.
All right.
I
Well,
think it's a
there,
good list. I don't think there's a super S team, and I don't think there's a failure F tier team. So
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. After the points you made about Beaver Hunters, I can agree. I can agree.
at
But
least not yet. There's no S or F team.
no, there you have it, folks. The Ego Chall preseason WVCL 2024 tier list. With that said, we do have some Q&A questions to go ahead and round out the first episode. So I'm just going to start us off with a banger. Ben, who in the league has the biggest ego?
We're both answering these questions, by the way.
No,
I'm not
no,
getting
no, no,
pressured.
no, no, no. This is you.
No, we can't do this unless we both answer. That's not fair.
Okay. I'll answer.
I think the biggest ego. Oh, this is hard. I could just say myself and be a scapegoat. Um, is it like just like right now, or like who has the potential to have the biggest ego?
I think just in general, man.
Uh, oh, this is impossible.
I know my answer, so I'll go ahead and go first. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. Um, Actually, I have two answers. One, just because I have to say it, Tej, he throws out the I'm the commish, like it's a dictatorship kind of like it's we're all here, right? We're all playing, we're all putting effort into the league. It's nobody's specific league. It's everybody's league. Calm down, right? But no, Tej is a goat for getting everybody together. I just had to stir the pot a little bit. As far as ego, thinking like, oh, he's the best in the league, like shit like that. I'm gonna say Seth. Like Seth is absolutely a fucking monster to play against. So like his ego is kind of warranted, but it's just sometimes it's a little too big, and then Alex hits and Trace have to knock it down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. I have one in mind, but I'm not gonna say it.
Say it. You
So
gotta say it.
no, no,
I'll text it to me
uh,
right now.
no. I'll give you like the one that I want to share as an answer because I
Okay.
also agree.
Okay.
Um, I mean this in the nicest way possible, and he might take this out of context. Um, I This is gonna make me sound rude. I want to say Alex just because I think he knows that if he doesn't perform, he's just gonna lose all year. And like, he's not like he's not egotistical at all. I know how like that's my guy. That's my duo. I mean, we've been homies,
I don't
but I
necessarily
think
think having an ego is a bad thing. Like some people,
no,
like egotistical and having a big ego are different. I feel.
like I think he, in my opinion, is the highest in the league on an IQ sense of what he wants to happen and kind of like understand how A and B makes C on the map. Like I think he's the brightest one. But
I
he
agree. I agree.
also he knows that if he like, and this is no slander to his teammates, but I think Alex is like, oh well, if I don't do what I need to do, like if I don't play like Alex Carr, then we're just gonna lose all year. 'Cause like I'm not. It's not like I'm saying Alex is like, oh well, I'm better than you. Like you shouldn't challenge me. You're wasting your time. Like I mean, I kind of say that stuff in scrim, well, in eights. Like, why are you challenging me? I do that a lot. But I think it's more of like a passive sense that Alex is like, well, if I don't do well, then we're wasting our time. Like it just comes into what I said about if he's able to like corral his team together, like they're fine. But I know that thought's lingering in his head. I can somewhat agree with Seth, but I mean, just because he's been so good at the games over the years, like he knows what he's doing.
I mean, he has walls. How could he not be good?
Um, I also think Seth is from okay, so Alex always picks someone else, so I'm always on Seth's team for eights. Seth's like he doesn't rage too much about like how he died or whatever. He's like, oh, why are you here? And I can see where that's like where you're saying about ego maybe. It's like, well, he's playing this wrong. Like he needs to play it this way. Like he kind of assumes like people should play it differently or like play better. But I don't think he's like I don't really think anybody in the league is like, oh, I'm better than you. Like you can't gun me. Like why are you challenging me? Like I say it just to get my teammates hype. But I don't think there's really anybody in the league that's like 100% thinks they're better than everybody. At
Right.
least like publicly says that.
So we've heard it here first. Wheezy has the biggest ego in
No,
the league.
that's just my way of hyping my teammates. If I get a three-piece, I'm gonna say something.
That's what I would say too, Wheezy. Hype my teammates up.
Okay.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on.
I don't have enough to be an ego since everybody wants to put me at 5.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I have you at 5 just because personally I haven't really gotten to play with you enough. So like I know I've teamed with Seth in stage 1 of last year. I've played like eights and stuff with Alex a lot more. I'm teaming with Hits now. Saw what he did at Champs last year. Trace has just been absolutely frying, and like I played against you, but it's definitely like you take how they are as teammates into it as well. And I feel like you and I really haven't teamed at all, other than just the Burt Macklin Invitational, which Hardpoint, like there's not really, or not Hardpoint, but Search, there's not like much you can take from it as far as like Slayer ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we do have another question coming in. This one's from the commish. And he wants to know what teams, other than your own, so we'll leave Lap Hogs and Reapers out of it. Who are you most excited to see play? And who are you like really not interested in how they do?
I'll go first on this one.
All right.
I would say, what do you say, most excited to watch and least excited to watch?
Yeah.
I would say least excited. Oh, that's kind of tough. Everyone has something like unique about them that I'm interested to see. I'd say most excited, probably Armada, just because I want to see like if that team itself can replicate what happened last year. I mean, Tej is a different aspect in it, but just how like smart Weed plays, I just want to see how that team gels. Another team I'm excited for is Mint's team because I just want to see if they're able to like play as a unit. Like I want to see how well Trace can get with Mintz and Corey on the battlefield and like hold that together. I mean, really every team I'm excited to see. Um, on a slaying aspect, I want to see how well Goodfellas play. I want to see like who ends up being a hill player rather than a slayer, which will probably be Sean. But I mean, Sean's got a gunny, so it's like it's hard to really decide that.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Seth get like 2.5 minutes on this game multiple times.
No, absolutely.
Least excited, probably Beaver Hunters, just because it's not much different than last year's team. It's a little, I mean, it's a little better, but I feel like it's gonna be like you're gonna know what to expect when you're watching them. It's more of like, can Alex do the job, and can his teammates like can he hold his teammates with him?
Yeah,
Um, that being said, there's not really a match that I'm not interested in, but there's not one that I'm more excited for. Like I
that's
think
fair. That's fair.
every team has something that I'm like interested in watching for. It's hard to pick that out. What about you?
Least looking forward to, I'm gonna say Goodfellas actually, just because like we know they're gonna be good. We know they're gonna be Slay dominant, um, and we kind of know how that dynamic for that team is gonna work. Um, so like I kind of know what to expect from them. I
Yeah,
might be more interested to see how they play if they start losing some matches. Just see how they
that's
adapt.
cruel.
Well, not like that. It's just like,
You're preying on their downfall.
well, obviously, I'm preying on every team's downfall apart from my own, but it's just like not even hoping they do poorly. It's just I expect them not to lose matches. You know what I mean? So if they start losing some, um, it'd be interesting to see how they can adapt to the changes that they need to make and how they do afterwards. As far as like who I am excited to watch, I'm gonna say Armada. Just I was on the championship squad from last year on that team, so I'm excited to see how the duo from my old trio perform with TJ this year. And I'm excited to see how TJ does too. We had beef last season. I think that kind of got
Yeah,
squashed in the off season. I don't think we're necessarily bumping heads like we were, but I think my team and that team or my team and Akatsuki might be a little rivalship going on there. Just
yeah.
one because it's me and my two teammates from last year and the commissioner, or what happened in the preseason scrim for Akatsuki. So I think those two teams kind of interest me the most just to watch. But I think Armada is going to take the spot for me. Just I want to see how they play together. It seems like they might have the exact same dynamic, um, just switched around a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if they start out slow again this year and pick up the pace, or if they're just going to start out on the right foot.
I agree with you. That makes sense.
And then another question, kind of on the same topic. Who do you think makes the first roster change after each major or stage? The commission is allowing roster changes so teams can make trades. Who do you think is going to make the first trade? What two teams? Because I guess it has to be two teams.
Um. Oh, I could totally just stir the pot. I don't think Stevie would get rid of Alex or Chase.
No,
Um,
I personally think it's you all and the Reapers and Armada. I think I think a swap will happen somewhere there. I'm not sure who for, but I think if either of those teams are kind of struggling, whether it be Team Kim or Slang or what
but who do you
happened.
think it is then?
See,
Who do
I
you
don't
think on those
know.
teams?
That's the issue because like no one wants to get rid of a good player. So like I don't see Hank really letting either of you all go, but everyone wants to get a better player. So like Stevie's not gonna let go of Alex, but then like where Chase was the last pick, like no one's gonna pick up Chase. So that roster is kind of locked in. Same with Akatsuki. Like maybe Akatsuki trade, like make like a Corey TJ trade or something like
Uh,
that, but I don't even see that happening. So
Funny enough, I do want to say our team, Reapers, but I I honestly could see a world where Trace is like, I want to play with Hendrix, and then Mintz is like, okay, and then they revert their draft day trade, and Corey goes to where he should have gone with Goodfellas, and Hendrix goes to where he should have gone
uh,
with Akatsuki.
dude, I
I think
forgot.
that
I forgot about that. We need to talk about that.
I think that is a realistic trade. I think Michael is a little bit overzealous. I mean, either of those guys are not a bad pick. Like Hendricks going second to last just blows my mind. I think he could be like, oh well, Trace wants to play with him. I mean, which I don't think any of those three are bad between Trace, Corey, and Hendricks.
I agree.
But it just depends how well they play together during the first stage, and if Trace it's like, oh well, Corey's not doing bad, but we can try to get Hendricks, and maybe Sean, Seth agree. But like with our team, it's hard for me to comment on my own team on who would get traded.
Yeah.
Like, there's nobody in this league that I wouldn't want to team with. Maybe TJ because he kicked me out. That'd be the one reason. Even then, I wouldn't be bothered to play with TJ. But yeah, I mean, Corey and Hendricks to me is like an obvious trade just because they're all boys with Trace.
That's true.
The initial trade was those two like draft picks.
Well, let me ask you this then. All right. Let's say in game, right? Because obviously there was some out of game antics that went into the round 2 draft pick swap between Akatsuki and Goodfellas.
Yeah.
There was some financial shenanigans going on, but let's stick to in game. Let's say Mike doesn't offer any financial compensation for the trade. What would make Goodfellas want to get rid of Hendricks? Because in my opinion, that was a steal. Them getting Hendricks, like that.
It was a steal.
That should have never happened, but it did. So like, why would they get rid of Hendricks for Corey? I don't see any realm in which that's a possibility.
So this will just come down to how Sean wants to play the game. I think right now Sean sees it as he has an opportunity to just soak hill time because he's got two amazing slayers. If Sean wants to be the guy that can play hill time but also get out and slay if he needs to, it wouldn't hurt to have Corey there because Corey's got amazing gun skill, but he's still learning the game. And if you have someone learning the game but is soaking hill time and seeing how like the game develops, like how where spawns are and like where to anchor and like what to hold like while you're in hill, like you can see everything like happening around you. Corey would be that guy because he's got great gun skill but is still learning like what's going on. Hendricks is a little more understanding of how the game flows and he can get a kill, but he's not a player you would like just want to set in hill with how his ability to like play on the map. It kind of like that trade would just depend how Sean really wants to play the map because I know you got Seth on your team. I mean, you would prefer him to slay. Sean's probably thinking he's getting a free 2 or 3 minutes of hill time every hard point. So I mean, if Sean wanted to step out and be like, "Hey, I want to slay a little bit. I want to set up our team," then I think that's a good spot for Corey to come in. But I mean, like I said, I don't really think a team will make a trade unless it's either them or us or somebody. But I mean, if Sean wanted to play a little different, because like last year, they had me IGL and I didn't know how comfortable Wayne was, so I was like, oh well, Wayne, you can play hill if you want. And it kind of was like a confused battle between him and Sean, because like, oh well, you're in there, like, do I get in? Like, it was kind of like that. Which right now you have like Sean is like for sure like, unless something's changed, like he's the hill guy. But if he wants to go out and move around and like get kills, then I think Corey would be a great pickup.
Okay.
But I don't think anything happens realistically.
Yeah, I was gonna say I still don't see that happening. The only like realistic, realistic quote unquote reason I could see for them making that trade is if Hendricks just for some reason like gets ridiculously awful at search and destroy, and their control isn't really working out, and Corey's like really good at search and destroy. I could see them maybe making that trade because I think Mince's best mode right now is search and destroy. So I think that they might make that trade in that scenario, but I don't see that happening. Hendricks to me seems like a guy that only gets better as the
Yeah.
year goes on. So any issues he has with S&D right now, I see him figuring that out. And even if he doesn't, I'd still think that they stick with him.
I just don't understand why Michael traded up for that. I think Corey would have been there. But I think you would have ended up on Goodfellas.
Yeah. From what I understand, if Mike still took, well, the issue is that Wayne had reached out to me in hits before the season. It was like, if I can get you guys, I'm going to get you guys. So I don't know if I would have dropped to Sean in the second pick.
Well, Sean, well, he said he wanted you, but
Yeah, he was going to pick me, and then like Hendricks dropped to him. And I think if Corey had dropped instead of Hendricks, I was getting picked by Sean. But even then, like the whole draft was weird. They shouldn't have been allowed to swap. But
yeah, I agree.
I think in a league with only 6 teams, like it's different for like NFL, NBA, and stuff like that. Like with a ridiculous amount of teams.
Yeah, if there was like
Because
a third round and we did fours, then I could understand.
yeah, but just I don't know. We'll see how it goes next year. There's some talks about using a different way to pick for the draft. It might not be the bottom 6. I don't think it'll be the top 6 either. So we'll see what ends up happening.
It'd be interesting.
But we'll keep our ears to the ground for the talks of what the draft is going to look like next year. Hopefully, there's no round 2 financial decision draft swaps that'll break the league this year. But we'll see. Maybe Goodfellas are just ridiculously dominant, or maybe it was a bad investment. We'll see.
What other questions you got?
We got one last question before the end of the show, and it has to do with something that you're pretty close to. I was gonna play on the academy roster at this university before I ended up transferring before next semester. But this person wants to know: are the WVCL players better as a unit? I'm not sure if that means like top 4 or just like 12v4, which I guess would make it a little more interesting, just based off the knowledge I have of what's to come. But are the WVCL players better as a unit than Marshall University's Call of Duty esports team?
So, as someone with experience of both, I would assume that it's top 4 of this league and top 4 of that league. Issue with that is 2 of the top 4 of this league is on Marshall's team.
Yes,
So I would assume the top 4 of this team would be me, not in order, but me, Seth, Trace, and God, that's a toss up between Mark, you, and Hendricks, I guess. But that roster is Alex, Hits, Foster, and who am I missing?
Stu.
Huh?
It's Stu.
Stu is on there.
Yeah. Stu. I'm gonna.
I couldn't remember if they got Stu or not.
Yeah,
That's why I was blanking.
They did. The Marshall University COD team is not dropping a map. I'm gonna say it. Like even if it's the same 2, say Alex and Hits are on it, just having Stu, like it's a wrap.
I mean, I played with Stu. I mean, the guy's a dog. Realistically, if it's a best of 5 series, we're not even getting to map 2. We're just playing the hard point, and our team's going to be too annoyed to want to continue, probably.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I've played a couple games with Stu, and just like,
I mean, the dude's got tons, like hundreds of pro points for a reason. Like,
yeah, it's
the guy's a top 24, 36, 48 challenger player. I mean, pair that with Alex and Hits. I mean, Foster's like a little like he's not on their level per se, but he's learning so much at an alarming rate. Like he's getting so good at COD.
Yeah.
I just on a scale like you would have to look at Stevie and Seth, and they're both really good. I think if Seth like was more devoted to COD, he'd be a little closer to Stevie. It's kind of like a
Wait,
parallel.
Stevie.
Stewie, God, I always get that mixed up. It's kind of like a parallel. You've got Stewie, and then you got Seth, and then you've got, depending on how you look at it, you can either say Alex or Hits, and then you have me, and then you have the other person, and then you have our like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it's like a ladder. I would easily take that Marshall team over this one. That
yeah,
Marshall team's
absolutely.
probably a playoff team.
The Marshall team, I'll be surprised if they don't win. If they don't win Open.
Well, they're going to be doing like a non-scholarship tournament at some point,
Yeah,
and they'll easily win that,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
or at least get top 5.
that is a dangerous squad, and even if Alex and
Who
Hits
asked
are,
that?
it does not say. They did not
That's
provide a name, but
a good question. I would still take the Marshall team.
yeah, dude, it's just even if Alex and Hits were playing on the like both teams, say you could clone them. I still think just like having Stu, that's the difference maker because we talk like
I don't know. If you cloned Alex and Hits, I think it'd be a lot closer.
it'll be closer, but I still like if I was to place a bet,
Yeah,
10 out of 10 times
Marshall.
I'm placing it on that Marshall squad. Like not only do they have tons of experience together, they're reviewing VOD every week, playing like 4 matches a week against like not only non-scholarship schools, scholarship schools. They're doing scrims, like they're just getting so many hours in the game, doing VOD review, everything like that. Like it's a night and day difference to what we do in this league. So
Yeah.
I personally think Marshall, no matter who you take on the WVCL squad, is going to win. The only thing I could see, the question was the WVCL group as a unit, is if we do a little 18v4. I think that might be a better match, to
Yeah.
be honest. That might be interesting. For Stu, I feel like anyone outside of the top 6 of the WVCL is pretty much a free kill, including myself. So that would be an interesting match, to be honest. But I think that is gonna do it. Ben, do you have any closing thoughts before I log us out?
Do we want to do like a quick like prediction of the first match, or?
Yeah, we can. Let me pull up the.
We can just do the first match. We don't have to do all of them.
All right. Week 1 is Armada versus Goodfellas. I'm gonna take Goodfellas in that one.
I'll take Goodfellas in that. I'm gonna
go 3-1. Yeah, I'm going 3-1 as well. And then you have Lap Hogs versus Beaver Hunters in week 1.
I'll go. Honestly, I'll go 3-2 on that.
I'm going 3-0 Lap Hogs, baby.
I see something happening in that. Depending on the maps, it could be a 3-0.
All right. And then last week 1 match, you have the Akatsuki versus Reapers. I'm going to go 3-2 Reapers.
I'm going to get 3-1 Reapers.
All right, so we agree.
I think they get the control on us.
All right. Other than scores, we agree for all the teams. So we've got Goodfellas, Lap Hogs, and Reapers winning in week 1. We'll see if that holds true in our next episode, which will be after Stage 1 has been complete. Join us next time. We should have the Stage 1 MVP joining us as a guest. Don't forget to submit Q&A questions for the next episode on the forum. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all later.
See ya.